Om Amriteshwari Nama, Om Namah Shivaya. My name is Amrapali Kumari Mahato of Class 12 Science student. I'm excited to find myself standing here and explaining something that relates our perception of our mind that holds us back. Have you heard of prison? There is a prison that has an innate population in the world. It's a prison without wall, without barbed wire, without guard, and without any physical barrier. But it is the most effective prison in the world. Few accept it, but those who did find real and lasting freedom. That prison is our mind. It's a prison that holds us back, our initiative, our talent, our ability to express ourselves, and most of all, it holds us back. The constant nagging thoughts, do I dare? Should I even try? Can lead to anxiety, scary, and letting us stop. Everyone has some type of fear or prophobia that absolutely petrifies them. This story, Deep Water, written by William Douglas of Men and Mountain, he recounts his childhood experience and conquering his determination of thoughts of fear. Douglas' effort has struggle and symbolic and suggestive method. All terror and obstacle can be overcome through persistent effort. His experience can serve a useful lesson for others to succeed even in the most important hostile circumstances. So this story began with the narrator counting an important tool that took place. He was 10 or 11 years old. Narrator had decided to learn swimming at the YMCA pool in Yakima. He was initially worried when he stepped into the YMCA pool, since it stirred unpleasant memories. When he was about 3 or 4 years, his father taken him to a beach in California. The wave had knocked him over and he had covered by water. This experience had filled him with a deep fear of water. Narrator felt this fear resurfacing at the YMCA pool. But over some days, he overcame his fear of observing and imitating the action of other boys who were swimming. One day, narrator was sitting alone by the side of the pool, waiting for the other boys to come. He did not have the confidence to enter the pool alone. A huge boy of 18 lightened came in and picked him and threw him into the deep water end of the pool. Narrator panicked. He sank to the bottom of the pool, but kept his weight about him. He decided to push himself onto the surface when his feet hit the bottom, and then paddled to the edge of the pool. Unfortunately, he came up slowly. When he opened his eyes, he saw nothing, but only the yellow water. He started to panic, arose, especially when he could not get his face out of water. As he panicked slowly down and came down, he started to lose his breath and suddenly stepped with fear. He reached the bottom of the jump again, trying to overcome his fear, but nothing happened. He was overcome with terror again and froze. He almost came up, but again went back underwater. Darkness surrounded him as he gave up to the seemed to welcome him, and he lost consciousness. The next thing he knew, he was lying beside the pool, vomiting water. He had swallowed. He had been pulled out of water just in time. The incident left him and feeling vulnerable and helpless. And from that day, he was terrified of water. Over time, as he grew older, this fear stayed with him and ruined his fishing trips. It prevented from enjoying simple joys of life, canoeing, boating, and swimming. Finally, he decided to learn swimming from an instructor. He started practicing 5 days and weeks at a pool. First, he swam repeatedly up and down a pool with a belt that was attached to an overhead rope. He panicked every time. He went underwater, but this subsided over 3 months. The instructor taught him to breathe and break properly, and eventually he learned to swim without help. Narrator was overjoyed, but wondered if he could swim without his instructor's support. He managed his instructor's support. To curb his lingering doubt, he swam across a lone lake, went forth, and then across came warm to the warm lake, which he had visited before. He did experience his old fear once in lake, went forth, but was able to ignore it. When he was able to swim across warm lake and back, he was at having conquered his fear. This experience has a unique and it left a deep imprint on his mind. He could never forget him. He had experienced both the feeling of supporting of dying and terror that fear can produce. The narrator ends the story written by quoting a line by Franklin D. Roosevelt word. All we have to fear is the fear itself. This fear-death experience had only made him stronger. He finally felt liberated. So, this was a story that made us learn fears are not darkness of our life. It is only our perception of our mind that makes it dark. But when we find a bright spot in this darkness, none can beat us to conquer it. Thank you.